Vandami Bendy, and good evening, everyone. Good morning for everyone in West Hemisphere. Welcome to the lesson on 7 stages of purification, part 10, 42 body parts. I'm Emma. I'm the meeting co-host who will be helping Bendy and everyone in today's session. May we invite Bendy to start the teaching, and may we invite the interpreter Bendy to start the translation. Sādhu, Sādhu, Sādhu.
So we will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So today we have to start talking about the 42 body parts. So in the 42 body parts, before we talk about 42 body parts, we also have to know the 6 door rupas, as we have explained before. In our previous Dhamma talk, we have already explained how to discern 4 elements meditation in brief. So whenever we are going to practice vipassana, we have to start with one of the methods, 4 elements meditation, in brief or in detail. The Buddha will explain one of these 2 methods before we start talking about vipassana. So both of these methods are discerning only materialities, only rupas. So we also have to know detailed methods now. That's why I choose this topic, 42 body parts. Then we also have to explain one more thing. Whenever we talk about meditation, especially samatha meditation, many people also ask me, how can we practice? When we practice breathing meditation, we have to see with our eyes or with our mind. Then there are also many other questions about other practice. If we summarize all types of practice, it can be only 3. The first one is seeing. For example, like a kasina, we have to see. Then among the kasina, like a 1 element, one kasina, we can also practice by touching or by seeing in 2 ways. But when we practice mindfulness of breathing, it is by feeling, by sensation. In the very beginning, we have to start with sensation, the touching point. But later, although we don't see it although we don't feel it, it doesn't matter. As long as we can know breathing is okay. But in the case of the body parts, actually I have to explain this one when I was explaining samatha. But now here I have to review 32 body parts as the basics. In 32 body parts, we have 2 different practices. The first one is samatha practice. We have to practice 32 body parts, step by steps. So 32 body parts are practice. We can practice 32 body parts by learning. So how can we learn? It's 32 body parts. So when we can study anatomy, we can practice 32 body parts. It will be easier for some physician, like a doctor or nurse or some surgeon. They can know very well. They can practice easily. As long as they can feel it repulsive, it's okay. But almost all the doctor or nurse, they are very familiar with the dead body. That's why they may not feel repulsive sometimes. then this is not really good for practicing. Anyway, now we have to start with how to practice the 32 body parts in samatha. So the first one is vajasa as verbal recitation. So we can do some recitation, like for example, head hair, body hair, and so on. The second one is manasa, that means as mental recitation. So we can also do some mental recitation. So just mentally chanting 32 body parts slowly. So you may have known some story about Mahasatipatthana Sutta. In the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, in the commentary, it was mentioned like one of the heralds also practiced 32 body parts. So in the very beginning, I cannot believe how is it possible a parrot can practice 32 body parts. But later, when I study how to practice in detail, I found this method, vajasa and manasa. So he could recite 32 body parts because parrot also can learn by heart. So similarly also can think about it mentally. That's why we can also say, okay, it's possible. Parrot also can practice. Anyway, okay, now we have to move next one. Vanato as to color. We have different body parts. There is a different color. We also have to discern all the color one after another. So sometimes the color is also repulsive. That's why we also have to know the color. We also have to feel repulsives when seeing the color. So as you have known that different body parts has different colors. Then again, Santanado is as to shape. Then when you study 32 body parts, you can also know the shape of body parts. For example, head hair is like a thread. And body hair is like a thread. This is the shape. But teeth and nail, different shape. Skin, we have different shape. So we have to know the shape of the body parts. So sometimes the shape is also repulsive. Then again, we also have to know disato as to directions. So here I have to explain a little bit about directions. So from the middle, we have a navel. From the navel, there's some body parts above the navel. There's also some other body part under the navel. We have to know the directions from the middle, from the navel, and upward and downwards. These are called directions. So that means we also have to know this body parts is in which part of the body, upper body parts or lower body parts. Then similar to that, we have another one, okasato, as to location. So this one is exactly location. So is it, for example, head hair in the head, body hair all over the body, then so forth. We have to know all the body parts. This is also one of the things we have to know when we are practicing. Then we have the last one, Meditator, as to delimitation. For example, like a head hair in the head. So there's the boundary between two head hair. When we start inside this head, after that it will grow up. Then we can also see the root of the head hair. We can also see the top of the head hair. This is the delimitation. So we have to know all the body parts, including its delimitation. The moreover, we also have to feel repulsive. If we can feel repulsive, we are successful in practicing 32 body parts. This is the very beginning of practice. Then when we are going to practice, Vipassana, it will be a little bit different. So we have to know materiality in the body parts when we are going to practice. Most of the body parts are very similar to body doors, but there will be some exceptions. For example, heart materialities. So that means in the heart, we can also do some heart materialities. This is exception. In the eyes, we may have iron translucency. It will be exceptions, as we have explained in our previous Dhamma talk. So now, in the body parts, for example, head hair, how many rupa kalapas can be there? So we have body translucency, body translucent kalapas. So in the head hair, it's not very strong body translucency. That's why sometimes if our head hair is very long, if somebody touch, we cannot feel it. There's maybe some body translucency, but we can feel it. That is why we also have to know that most of the body parts, there will be body translucent kalapas. Then the next one, we have sestaki kalapas. So some materialities can be all over the body. Maybe like a hormone, maybe now. In modern community, in modern science, they say hormone, right? Anyway, the sub materiality will be all over the body. So this, for example, in head hair also, there will be and body hair in every body parts. We have to do some sestaki kalapas. Then again, life non-kalapas, life faculties. So sometimes, as we have explained in our previous Dhamma talk, we also have to apply some medicine in our body. There's a bodily heat, right? There's also digestive heat in every body parts. So that digestion is life non-kalapas. It can be everywhere. That's why we have to do some life non-kalapas in all over the body, everywhere in every body part. Then again, we have to know that mind produces kalapas. When we have some maybe like excitement or like a fear arises, we also say hair rising, right? This is called hair rising. Then if like this, because it's mind produced, then there will be mind produced materialities everywhere, all about the body. Then again, temperature produces kalapas. Actually, we have already explained the one in our previous Dhamma talk, but now here I have to review. So temperature also can be everywhere in the body. Then every single kalapas, there is also fine elements. It can be heat and cold. Whether heat or cold, it also can produce new generations, new rupa kalapas, new particles. And this is also called temperature-produced materialities. So it can be all over the body. Then finally, we have nutriment-produced kalapas. So in every single kalapas, there's also nutriment. When the nutriment is supported by digestive heat and nutriment-produced kalapas, come from newly eaten foods, right? Produced by newly eaten foods. It also can produce new generations. This is called nutriment-produced kalapas. So, in brief, we can find these types of materialities in all over the body. But there will be some other exceptions in some different body parts. So again, we have to introduce all the body parts one by one. So Now here we have to divide into groove. Okay, here I also have to introduce one thing about 42 body parts. In the 42 body parts, there are earth elements predominant body parts. There are water elements predominant body parts. There are also fire elements predominant body parts. There's also wind elements predominant body parts. We have to practice group by group. Now we will start with earth elements predominant body parts. Now here we use the Pali term Picha Panchaka, skin tinted. So that means it will be ends in the skin. That's why we say skin tinted or Picha Panchaka. Head hair, we all have head hair. So head hair is also repulsive when we practice in samatha, but now here we don't need to think about repulsive. When we can do some 4 elements in the head hair, when we can do some rupa kalapas in it, in every rupa kalapas there will be 4 elements. According to I have explained in the group now, it can be body translucency, body translucent kalapas, sex maturity, satake kalapas, also can be life nonic kalapas, mind produce, temperature produce, nutriment produce. We can find all these types of kalapas in the head hair. Similarly, we have body hair. So we can practice 4 elements in the body hair. We can do some 4 elements. We can do some rupa kalapas in the 4 elements. Then if we can categorize group by group, the kamba produce, mind produce, temperature produce, nutriment produce, it will be same as body hair. Then teeth. Teeth also the same as head hair, body hair. We have to do some 4 elements on it. When there's some rupa kalapas, we can also know the same things there. Then nails, toenails or fingernails. All these are called nails. So we can do some 4 elements on it, rupa kalapas and everything. Then it will be the same as teeth. Then finally, skin. So we have 2 layers of skin, a thinner layer and a thick layer. In any layers, it will be the same types of rupa kalapas. We have to sum all the rupa kalapas in these 5 body parts. These are the 5 body parts in the very beginning. So we can also know it very easily because although we don't meditate, when we look at the mirror, we can see reflections, right? We can see head hair, body hair. We also know the teeth. But for about nails and skin, we can see practically. That is why these 5 body parts are very easy to discern for most of the meditators when we practice samatha. In vipassana also, it will be easier because not that much difference. Then second group, vaka panchaka, kidneys pentet. Here again, flesh. So we all have flesh, another skin, and we also have sinew. Then bones, bone marrows inside the bone. And finally, kidneys. So if we can discern 4 elements on it, then if we can discern rupa kalapas on it, it will be same as previous group. You can like body translucent kalapas, sastake kalapas, live nonic kalapas. Then it also can be mind broju materialities, temperature broju materialities, and nutriment broju materialities. And the next group, Apasa Panchaka, lungs content. So here we have heart. Yes, this one is, I have mentioned very special body parts, right? There's a blood in it. In the blood, there's a heart motility. That's why when we get some four elements in it, there will be additional rupa kalapas. The one is, sorry, body transition kalapas, also sex maturities, satake kalapas, also heartake kalapas, life none kalapas. Then all other things will be the same: mind produce, temperature produce, nutriment produce. We can design all these types of kalapas in the heart. Then remaining things: liver, membranes, spleens, lungs. So all these body parts are also, remaining body parts are similar to previous body parts. Only body translucency, sex maturities, life none kalapas, mind produce kalapas, temperature produce kalapas, and nutriment produce kalapas. So these are also called earth elements predominant body parts. Then this is the last group among the earth elements predominant body parts. Matalunga Panchaka, brain pentet. So that means it will be ends in the brain. Again, intestine. Yes, you have already know that. Intestine. This is also same to other body parts. Sorry. Then masonry. This one is also okay, not that much problem. So this is like a small, right? Small thread to like tied up with other intestines and all other small things. Mesenteries. Then cords. Yeah, this one is it. You can say newly eaten foods or undigested foods. So this one is very different from all previous body parts because our foods is only temperature produced materialities. If we can design 4 elements on the foods, we can design only 8 types of materialities. As we have known before, there will be earth elements, water elements, fire elements, wind elements, the color, smell, the flavor, and nutrient essence. They are also only temperature produced materialities. This one is different from all other body parts. Then again, we have feces. This is the digestive food, right? Already digested. This is also only temperature produced materialities. Same to newly eaten foods. So these are on these two, right? Newly eaten foods or undigested food or digested foods. Both of them are only temperature produced materialities. When we get the some element on it, we can know only 8 types of materialities. And the last one is the brain. So in the brain, if we design 4 elements on the brain, and also if we can try to design rupa kalapas in the brain, we can also know bodhitake kalapas, sastake kalapas, life none kalapas. Also, we can also design the mind produced kalapas, temperature produced kalapas, and nutriment produced kalapas in the brain. So now altogether, we have already talked about 20 body parts. These 20 body parts are called earth elements predominant body parts. Then again, we also have to know Meditator, facts subject. So that one is 6 in one group, the Metta chakra. The first one, palm. Palm, you also already know the one. The flame. So you all have already know the one. Then here parts. Yes. This one is new. For previous one, palm and flame. This is very similar to all previous body parts. It can be body tactic klapas, also body transition klapas, also can be some materialities. There is also life non klapas, mind produce, temperature produce, vitamin produce. But what about the parts? We don't have parts all the time. If we have some like a blister in our skin, or there's some other injury in the skin, or some skin disease, we may have parts. So parts is only temperature produced materialities. So when we have, we can descend. If we don't have, we don't need to descend that one. So the main thing is it really different from other body parts? Only temperature produced materialities. We have to remember this one. Then again, we have the next one, blood. Is also similar to previous group. It can be body translucency, also some materialities, life non klapas, temperature produce, nutriment produce, mind produce. Then sweat. This one is also different. Sometimes when we are excited or fear, then we also have sweat, a lot of sweat. This is actually mind produce. But sometimes we have a lot of sweat because of the weather. If you have been to Myanmar, you may have experienced sweat. Even in Singapore, you also can experience sweat. When you go outside, when you just do walking or exercising, you can also experience sweat. It's temperature produced sweat. So because of anxiety or fear, we have a lot of sweat. This is mind produced. So in brief, sweat can be two types of rupa klapas. The first one is mind produced rupa klapas. The second one is temperature produced rupa klapas. It can be only 8 types of materialities. One is produced by mind also, only 8 types of materialities. If it is produced by temperature also, it is only 8 types of materialities. This is sweat. Then finally, fat in this group. It also can be everywhere in the body. Then it also similar to all previous body parts. That means previous group. It can be body translucency. Then subjective klapas, life non klapas, mind produce, temperature produce, nutriment produce, rupa klapas. In this group, it's a little bit different from previous group. There are two things two body parts we have to remember very clearly. Parts is only temperature produced rupa klapas. Sweat is temperature produced rupa klapas. Also can be mind produced rupa klapas according to the conditions. Then we have the last group among the cognitive body parts, Mutta Chakra, urine septate. So here we have to start with tears. So when we feel sad, tears come out. So that is a mind produce. Sometimes we are very happy, also tears come out. just gathering in our eyes. That's also mind produced. Sometimes, like when we peel or when we chop onion, or when we are going to smash chili, then when chili enter into the eyes, some a bit of chili splash eyes, then tear come out. At the time, it's temperature produced. So we have to know the tear can be produced by two. One is produced by mind, another one is produced by temperature. So we can also understand it can be only two types of rupa kalapas. It's produced by mind. This can be mind produced rupa kalapas. When produced by temperature, it's temperature produced rupa kalapas. So only two types of kalapas in the tears. Then grease. So this one is only, it is similar to or previous or the other elements body parts, similar to other element body parts. It can be body translucency, such as kalapas. Also can be labnoronic kalapas, then mind produce, temperature produce, nutriment produce kalapas. This one has many different rupa kalapas. Then saliva. We all have known that one. So saliva also, sometimes when somebody eating limes or lemons or some other sour foods, saliva will gather inside our mouths, right? That is it, mind produce. Because of seeing, right? Because of seeing, we have a lot of saliva inside our mouth. That is called mind produced rupa kalapas. So now we can also understand it can be temperature produced. Sometimes if we are thirsty or whether it's very hot or because of maybe other situations, the mouth is too dry, for example, right? The saliva, there will be saliva inside the mouth more. So the main thing is saliva can be produced by two. The first one is mind, the second one is temperature. So only there can be two types of rupa kalapas. The first one is produced by minds. It is mind produced rupa kalapas. Second is temperature. Then it's produced by temperature. Temperature produced rupa kalapas. So there are only 8 types of materialities in every single kalapas. Then snoot. So snoot also similar to saliva. Sometimes because of weather, because of mind also, sometimes it can be. And on the last one, the next one is synovia. Sorry. So it can be, synovia is, you have already know synovia is in the joint, right? So it can be similar to grease. Body translucency. Then also some materialities, labnoronic kalapas, mind produced kalapas, temperature produced kalapas, nutriment produced kalapas. Then the last one, urine. Urine is only temperature produced rupa kalapas. So now we have to know that different body parts may have different number of materialities, different types of materialities. So there are some similar body parts, similar types of materiality in many body parts. So this is the second group. We can say 12 water elements predominant body parts. So we have already explained the first 20 is of elements, predominant body parts. Now the second groups, two groups, right? Altogether 12. These 12 are called water elements, predominant body parts. Then we have to use the next group. The next group is fire elements, predominant body parts. Then from time to time, some meditator also asks me, Wendy, where can we find positive body parts? Is it Buddha teaching? Or is it commentary or sub-commentary? But many questions from many different meditators. Then there are some people, Wendy, is it only possible to create this method? No. Then I have to explain where can we find all these sorts, positive body parts. Yes, we have already known that positive body parts can be found in many different suttas. Even Mahasatipatthana Sutta mentions positive body parts. This is very well-known suttas for meditators. But now, for about 42 body parts, this is very rare. But we can find in Majjhima Nikaya, Maharahula Sutta. The Buddha explained these 42 body parts to Venerable Rahula. You have already known who is Rahula. It's Buddha's only son. But you also have known that Venerable Rahula was ordained since he was 7 years old. But he didn't attain any higher path and fruition knowledge. After ordination, after receiving higher ordination, then he has a chance to listen this discourse from the Buddha. He practiced by himself, he attained hardship. So all the previous body parts I have explained also can be found in Maharahula Sutta. Actually, Maharahula Sutta is a very wide and very long discourse. Not only for these body parts, there are also many other things we can learn from the suttas. Okay, now we have already said this one can be learned in Majjhima Nikaya, Maharahula Sutta. The discourse on admonishment for Venerable Rahula. Then most of the body parts we have live non-kalpas. So that means in the case of 5 elements predominant body parts, in every body temperature produces kalpas, right? After that, we also have nutriment produces kalpas. In the 5 elements predominant body parts, mostly we can find these 4 types of rupa kalpas. So almost in every body parts, in the 5 elements predominant body parts, then there will be these 4. There is some exception in one of them. Okay, so we have to remember these 4 types of rupa kalpas. But although we have explained 32 body parts, we can find 32 body parts in many different suttas. The 42 body parts are very rare. I have said. So now we have to use what are the body parts. Heat or fever. When we have fever, we can discern this body parts. So this body part is also live non-kalpas. This is also 5 elements predominant. The mind produces rupa kalpas, also 5 elements predominant. Then temperature produces rupa kalpas, this is also 5 elements predominant. Nutriment produces rupa kalpas, this is also 5 elements predominant. So this is called heat or fever. You can imagine how many types of rupa kalpas there can be. So when we have sickness, we may have all these types of rupa kalpas in the body. That's why body is heaty. Then again, heat of agent. So in this body, we also have some heat. It will exist all the time. It make our body mature and mature. By the power of this body part, this heat of agent, we grow older and older. We look agent, older and we look older. So this heat of agent is also life non-klapas, 5 elements predominant. This is also mind project rupa klapas, 5 elements predominant. Then temperature project rupa klapas, right? The all 5 elements predominant. Nutriment project rupa klapas, 5 elements predominant. And the next one is body temperature. Yes, our body temperature is not very stable, right? But here agents are always stable. We are getting older and older. So body temperature is unstable. It depends on the place we live, always changing. But anyway, body temperature also the same as previous two. Life non-klapas, mind produce klapas, then temperature produce klapas, nutriment produce klapas. We can find all these things in these 3 body parts. The last one, digestive heat. This is the digestion. So digestive heat is like digestive heat is from our body part, everywhere in our body. So digestive heat can be in every body parts. That's why we can listen everywhere. This is only life non-klapas. Digestive is not produced by mind. It's produced by gamma. But anyway, if we know how to protect, sure, we have good digestion, right? So then digestive heat is life non-klapas. It depends on the way we eat also. Anyway, the first 3, heat of fever, heat of agent, body temperature, are 4 types of rupa klapas, right? Life non-klapas, mind produce klapas, temperature produce klapas, and finally nutriment produce klapas. But digestive heat is only life non-klapas. This will be different from one another. This is the first part of the 42 body parts. Then we have the last part. This is 1 element predominant body parts. Now we have already known 1 element in all about the body. So here, upgoing wind. Yes, we have winds all over the body. Some of the winds will go up. Then it will be same as previous body part, like life non-klapas, mind produce, temperature produce, nutriment produce. Then downgoing wind, it will be the same. And we have abdominal winds, a wind in the abdomen, outside the intestine. It will be the same. And we have like an intestinal wind. It will be inside the intestine. It will be the same. Then finally, winds in the limbs. It will go everywhere inside the body. This is called wind in the limbs. So these 5 5 body parts have life non-klapas, mind produce materialities, then temperature produce materialities, then there are also nutriment produce materialities. We have the final one, the last one, in our breath. Yes, we have already explained in our previous Dhamma talk. In our breath is also mind-produced materialities. This is only mind-produced. Sometimes we can also hear the sound, right? That's why mind-produced materiality together with the sound. And sometimes it can be smooth, sometimes it cannot be smooth. We can breathe and breathe out smoothly. Sometimes we cannot breathe and breathe out smoothly. It depends on situations. We may have different types of Rupakalapas. Okay, now, if we summarize among the wind elements, predominant body parts, outgoing winds, downgoing winds, abdominal winds, intestinal winds, and wind in limbs, have 4 different types of Rupakalapas. Live-nonic kalapas, mind-produced Rupakalapas, temperature-produced Rupakalapas, nutriment-produced Rupakalapas. The last one, in our breath, has only 1 type of Rupakalapas. It's mind-produced. So these are called 42 body parts. If we summarize, there are 20 other elements, predominant body parts. There are 12 water elements, predominant body parts. There are 4 fire elements, predominant body parts. There are 6 wind elements, predominant body parts. All these are called 42 body parts. So we have to discern all these body parts one after another. If we can discern very well, we may have the perceptions only rupa, only materialities. We may not have any perceptions of man, woman, living things, or non-living things. This is the purpose of practicing this meditation. Then we have to introduce slowly discerning materialities. That means how we do in our daily life. The first one, discerning 4 elements in the body, is just normal discernment in the very beginning. Then the second, discerning the 4 elements in the translucent body. So that means if we can discern the 4 elements very clearly, also systematically, then we can also see transparent body, translucent body. Then when we can discern 4 elements on it, then we can the next steps, discerning the 4 elements and the particles. Yes, we also have to know one more thing. When we can discern space elements in the translucent body, we can also see the particles. We must discern 4 elements in the particles. Next one, discerning 4 elements in its single particles. We must try to know all the elements in one single kalapas. After that, discerning the materialities and the particles in the 6 zones. That's what we call 4 elements in brief method. Now, finally, we talk about today discerning the materialities in the 42 body parts. This is it in detail method. So if we can discern all these steps one after another, now we have another steps. That one is discerning all the external things, living things, non-living things. We can expand the light, discern 4 elements. What about them? We see, we know, and we see only 4 elements in everywhere, in everything. That is called discerning materialities. If we can know what about then as rupa kalapas, then we may not have any attachment to it. We can also feel emptiness in the body. They will arise rapidly. They will arise and perish very rapidly. We can also know the nature of anicca. We can also know the nature of dukkha and many other things. Okay, now the main thing is As long as we can know the 4 elements in all over the body, this is good enough for beginners. If we can discern 4 elements in single particles, in every single particles, although in 6 doors or 42 body parts, is getting better. If we can know all over the worlds as 4 elements, it will be the best. After that, we can also discern like is it only rupa, no man, no woman, like this. Then there will be improvements for our practice. Okay, so I will stop here. Then may you all be able to practice the 4 elements systematically as the foundations of Vipassana. May you all be able to practice better than that. And also may you all be able to realize the final cessation and no suffering, Nibbana.
So you said mesentery for in one part, in 32 parts, you translated mesentery. But in Burmese, it said Uma, Uday, Sadit, Saham, Ona, right? So it is Uday. Uday is in the small intestine, and then no. Uma would be large intestine.
No. This is a little bit. Also, this is a traditional mistake, right?
I see.
Okay. Oh, no, Uday. Uday. Uday means like a small thread that and tied up the intestine and small. Yeah. Uday. We also like in Myanmar. We also like Uchijo.
Okay.
Uchijo. Okay.
Okay. And then what about you said Greece? No, you said that's CG. Not really saying as well. CG. What is CG actually? CG.
Okay. Actually, that one is very simple. When we have a lot of sweat after sweating in our forehead, right? There's a breeze, right? Like wine, like wine.
Okay.
All these are called.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Dear Sādhu, when one gets Upachara Samadhi by 4 Dhatus practice, so how can one reach Apana Samadhi from a 4 Attenjana?
Okay, so by only practicing 4 elements, we cannot attain jhana. But after practicing up to asset concentration, we can also practice 32 body parts, as I have said in the very beginning, right? 32 body parts. This is only samatha 32 body parts. Based on that, we can also proceed practicing kasinas. For example, Kala kasinas. Here's black. We can do some black kasina. We can take first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. If we can do, we can also practice immaterial jhana, right? So by only practicing 4 elements, we cannot. We have to go to another steps. Okay.
Yeah, SJY have a question regarding is Rahula, Venerable Rahula. Actually, what Kamatana did he practice in order to attain arahantship for Venerable Rahula?
Okay, so and he practiced all of them step by step, and he attained arahantship. Okay.
How do we discern the 4 elements discerning as rising and preparation?
So that means after discerning all the rupa kalapas, we can also see they are rising and preparation rapidly. After that, we can discern rising and preparation. Just only seeing kalapas, don't discern it. Okay, just trying to see 4 elements in all the kalapas and their rising and preparation. We can also know. Okay.
Sādhu, this is my experiment. When sometime Sādhu has talked about in and out breath can produce mind produce became have a sound. How to problem? Sometimes I feel have a sound in the nose and lungs. Sometimes I'm very angry. I think maybe have some people want to know about me. Is it right or no? No to me means is to reading our mind. Or this is right or no, Sādhu? Please, Sādhu, advise. Thank you very much.
No, not quite clear. What's the question?
the question is how to solve the problem. Sometimes in and out breaths, I feel a sound in the nostril, like tack, 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 and then in the lungs, have a sound too.
Okay. So the main thing is when you are practicing Anabanasati, mindfulness of breathing, don't think about the body parts. It's not very important, right? So this is not body parts meditation. If you think about many other things, it will happen. For example, like if you think about your head, you can also experience many different things in your head. If you think about your body, you can also feel many different things in your body like this. That's why when you are practicing Anabanasati, purely focus on the breath. Don't think about any other things. Okay?
Okay, Sādhu. And then this will be Paris alone, come and go like that. The sound.
The thought, you mean thoughts? You mean the thoughts? What do you mean? The thoughts, you mean? Hello?
Have a relationship or not with the another thought?
No, that means actually don't think about the thoughts, right? So thought is another subject already. When you are focused on the breath, don't think about the thoughts. Just think about the breath. Keep knowing breathing, it will be much better, right? Also, don't analyze too much. If you analyze too much, it will be very messy. Okay?
Okay, Sādhu. Wandami Sādhu.
Wandami Sādhu. If someone practice Anabanasati, when the breath, if the breath did not touch the skin near the nostril, how the meditator can know the breath? This is his question.
So in the very beginning, you have to start with the touching sensation. But later, when you become skillful, you can also know without touching. Okay, for example, sometimes you can know something moving around your nostril. You don't know the skin. It's possible. Especially when you very much study the breath. It can happen many times for many different meditators.
But even the breath is very gross, but he still cannot know the touching sensation. So how does he know the breath? Even the breath is very gross, but he doesn't know the sensation of touching.
Okay, as long as you can know breathing, don't think about sensation, it's better. If you cannot know the sensation, it's better for practitioner.
Then how should one decide whether he has already know the breath?
Okay, as long as you can feel it, you can know it, okay, that means you can decide. If you cannot know anything, well, like something like a wave, or something like a crawling insect, or something like a whether the feather is touching or something like that, you can know that as a breath. Okay?
This one meditator, he would like to ask, after practicing the brief method of 4-element meditation, does one need to proceed to detailed method or not?
So mostly we recommend to proceed detailed methods. So as long as we can know very much in detail, then there will be better practice for the future. The more we can know in detail, the better for our future. That's why we recommend to practice detailed method.
Shadow Mahasi technique also for Dhatu's practice. So how can one make different samatha and vipassana practice? Sādhu.
Okay, so in the samatha, we just know only 4 elements. In vipassana, we have to know 6 door materialities and 42 body parts. We can divide like that, right? So I'm not teaching Mahasi, that's why I cannot explain Mahasi way.
Sādhu, this another question about Anabanasati. In the Anabanasati, the in and out of the breath is actually directional concept, is a panyati. So can he say that focusing on to the in and out breath means focusing on the directional concept, directional panyati? Is that true?
Actually, there are many other things. For example, like short and long. This is also Upanida Panyati, right? Comparison, Panyati. So similarly, like a certain and gross comparison, right? There can be many other types of concepts. That's why, okay, if we know as a concept, don't analyze too much, right? It will be very messy.
Sādhu, 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 Bendy. Thank you for teaching us today, and thank you our interpreter Bendy for the translation. We will invite Bendy to lead us in making aspirations and sharing of merits.
Okay. Idawadaja amehi sambadam punya sambadam sabbe deva numodandu sabbe buddha numodandu sabbe sada numodandu sabba sambadi siriya idame nyadinam hodu sukita hondu nyadayo idame nyadinam hodu sukita hondu nyadayo idame nyadinam hodu sukita hondu nyadayo idame bunyam asawekaya waham hodu idame bunyam nibbanasa patiyo hodu mama bunya bagam sabasadanam bhajemi de sabe me samam punya bagam labandu.
Thank you, Bendy, and everyone for your time and participation. Till we meet on next Saturday, may all be well and happy. Sādhu, Sādhu, Sādhu.